Okay, Joe, I'm going to try to answer your question as to why this is not revolving. First, I'm going to just cut the section so we can see this more easily. That's just hitting this. This was covered in the little instructions that you shared. I'm going to change my view to hidden lines removed, which I find actually a much better way of doing this because it's more like an engineering drawing, and you can. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So what I can see is there's really very few dimensions here, and I think that's probably the problem. But this just in case other people are watching this, let's just show people what's going on. If we try to revolve this, oops, I select this sketch and I try to revolve it about this axis, I get an error saying that this needs to, by the way, this isn't supposed to be a thin feature, which the other one was. We can talk about what that means or look it up. But it's saying sketch is open, self-intersecting, or intersects a center line. So what that it might be that right here that this is intersecting, this curve is intersecting this line in a way that's not allowing it to revolve. Like it has to be an open contour. If you think about it, that'll make sense. But it's not always immediately obvious as to why these error messages are there. It's math, and we're looking at it graphically. But I do know that there are some things right off the bat. We should always, let's edit this sketch again. I right click on the sketch just so I can edit it. There's a lot of things that are not defined here and some that are seem to be wrong. Um, so let's just go through and try to define this sketch, see what happens. First thing I notice is that this 4 is not in the right place. You see over here it's at the base of the base, and here you have it on the interior of the base. So I'm just going to delete that dimension and do a smart dimension to the base, the bottom of the base, make it 4. Pull that down, and you see now when we do that, you didn't have this point and that point actually connected to one another. So this is just, totally normal things that people as they're learning SOLIDWORKS would do. But that's why it's really, you always want to, especially when you're a beginner, well, you always want to fully define, because if you get into a complicated model and you inadvertently change something, it can really screw stuff up. I mean, because you want to say, I'm actually building off of this sketch and I know exactly what this sketch is. If you're doing something quick and you don't need it, it's just as an example or something you're trying to figure out, you don't have to do that. But definitely as a beginner, I would always fully define my sketches. And I think that's what's going to solve the problem in the end here. So let's just try to go through and add these dimensions and see if we can fully define this thing. So first of all, I see up here that it's making the point that there's some of these curves are tangent, others are not. This one is tangent, so that's an important relationship. What I'm doing here is, if I just select and hold Control, I can select, for example, these two, this curve and this line, and then the properties dialog opens up, and I can just add tangent. It's a quick way of working. A lot of SOLIDWORKS is about learning these shortcuts. Then I also see that this is not, we want this line connected here, right? I should just pull it up. There's some, so by just pulling that line up, I made it coincident with the origin. So there's some relationships that can be automatically added. Make sure that you have your, you always want to be able to see your sketch relations. You can sometimes they get to be way too many, and you need to turn them off so it's not confusing. But right now we definitely want to see them. So make sure that you can see view sketch connections in this little eyeball. This eyeball is the quick this quick selection menu allows you to quickly choose what you can see and what you can't see. Okay, and then let's see. Another thing that's cool about this fully defining thing. So now you see how this line is black. That means, as far as I understand it, is we're saying, okay, that's set. We can't really change that. Although we want to be able to change it here. So, okay, I'm going to just pull this point down and make it coincident with that one, because we already had set this dimension here. Okay, so we're making some headway. Let's come back down here and do our 0.25. Anybody who's looking at this, and it's not at Joe, it's not where Joe was realize that sometimes, when you're reading these dimensions, so for example here, um, this point 0.5 is saying it's that this is going to be a point 5 inch in diameter circle that's, if you cut a section through that point right there. So when we're drawing it as a half of the revolve, then we just cut it in half. So that's 0.25. Um, and you see that these aren't, it seems to me these should be fully defined at this point, that we've got this 1 and this 2 that are defining the radiuses of these curves. I had looked at this previously because I was playing around with it before I decided to do the video. I think the problem here, and this is going to be, this is important, and it's not included in the instructions, I don't think, is that this point is supposed to be coincident with the midpoint of this line. So I'm going to select this midpoint and this point and make them horizontal. Um, saw that shifted things over. Again, that's not included in the instructions. I think it's maybe this point right here is where it's saying that's coincident. But if it's, anyway, you gotta, um, the best instructions are going to have often are going to, they're either going to be so complicated that they're confusing or they're going to be incomplete. So that might have been the whole problem right there, is that we didn't have that uh, relationship created. So I think now with that, we can um, hopefully finish this off. You already had the 1.75. I'm just adding in for real because, like I said, I think that you added these. I don't know if I said that already. I think that you added a lot of these, but you didn't. It's not, there's a way of drawing sketches where you can essentially rough in the dimensions. So you're seeing the dimensions, but you haven't set them. So if you want to have actual dimensions, you have to use smart dimensioning or there's other methods. Um, okay, now I'm going to bring this point to this point. I think what I'm going to do is just merge them. Make this point 1. It is already. And then if I move, oops. Um, this is what, 0.5. Okay. Just looking for why these aren't fully defined yet. I don't think I can actually pull anything. So I think this will actually, oops, nope. So I think did I make these equal yet? Instead of making them both, that's another sort of basic thing to tell students. I would not make this line 1.1 and this line 1.1. They're supposed to be equal, so just make one 1.1 and then make them equal to one another. Yeah, so now everything except for this is black. Not quite sure why this isn't black, and you see we're still underdefined. I think this is going to revolve, so let's just go and try it. So I'm just going to go to Features, Revolve Boss Base, which is a weird um, terminology, Boss Base. But anyway, so I'm going to do the Axis of Revolution here. No, we're still, I don't want to do a thin feature, but I don't think that's it. No, we still got the problem. Okay, so let's just fully define it. If I hit spacebar, by the way, I get this dialog where I can go choose quickly how I want to view my model or my sketch. I'm gonna do a shortcut right now just to show you that. I'm going to and I don't suggest showing this to students, but sometimes if I'm just like in a hurry and I'm pretty close and I want to fully define, I'll come up here to display delete relations and hit fully defined sketch and calculate. Not sure what it found. Oh, there's something weird here. So I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, this line is not, so that had not been, when you drew this bottom line here, you didn't make it coincident with the vertical here. And now see how the contour filled in and we're fully defined. So this should, famous last words, but this should revolve now. We have to choose the revolving um, axis, and there it did revolve. Turn off my section. All right, so I think this is a really good exercise, this candlestick, because it forces you to be exacting in your sketching, or the feature won't work. And that's not true of extrudes and simple things like that. They're very forgiving. All right, anyway, I hope this helped. Let me know what else I can do.